Born and raised in Apex, Chrissy T. Rowlands has lived in North Carolina her whole life. She began her natural healing journey in December 2001, and over the years, her passion for discovering the true meaning of health and how it is naturally achieved has only grown stronger. She feels blessed and honored to offer people what she believes to be a blueprint for a solid foundation for living a balanced, fulfilling life. As a transformational coach and licensed massage and bodywork therapist, she assists in creating balance and transforming lives of those seeking positive change in their lives. Together, she co-creates personalized plans for success, aligning clients with their life's purpose and living the life they deserve. Welcome, Chrissy.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for making it out this evening. I always think of this as being our time, not my time to talk or our time to talk. It's really our time. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here tonight. And when Julie had mentioned about the goal setting and goal achieving and dream achieving, I got really excited because in my practice, a big part of what I do is help people kind of tap into what I call the unseen behind the scene. So there's plenty of experts out there, which you'll hear from tonight, that are more about the doing steps of working towards and achieving your goals. But if you're anything like me, I had a lot of the doing down, but I wasn't quite seeing the results. So when I got into like the mentality, what I'm calling goal achieving mentality, then everything started to change for me. So that's what I wanted to share with y'all tonight. So you have a handout in front of you. It should be the top one, I think. It looks something like this, except for a few more blanks on it. And if you want to follow along, I mean, feel free. Take notes however you want. Don't take notes, just listen. But I just had this as a little guide so you have something to take away with you. And that's what I'm going to be following along tonight. And basically, the way that I describe how I work with my clients is that I like to take people in their current situation, pick them up, set them outside their situation, spin them around, have them look back in from a new perspective. When we look back on that same situation from a new perspective, a lot of times we discover new resources. New resources lead to different choices, and different choices lead to different outcomes, and that's what I'm all about. So in thinking about achieving our goals and dreams and what stops us from having that happen, I think the most important place to start is a concept which I adopted, and what I love too also about the information that I bring you. Don't just take my word for it. Take this into your life, try it out for 30 days, get your own results, see if it works for you or not. That's how I approach this information, and as soon as I started implementing it, I quickly saw that it was a way for me to go, so hopefully it will be for you too. One of the principles that I adopted is the fact that life is constantly responding to you. So why are you not reaching your goals and dreams? If you're putting that intention out there, you're taking the action steps, how come you're not seeing what it is that you want to achieve? And I think the number one thing that comes out for me is that we're listening to our mind. And when we listen to our mind, we focus on what we do not have. So in the past, I used to see a lot of steps towards that I hadn't accomplished yet, versus seeing that end result that I was working towards, or just even seeing the steps that I have taken so far. So simply put, you're listening to your mind and focusing on what you do not have, and trying hard to figure out how to make your dreams happen. And this is unknowingly stopping you from receiving everything that's required in order to achieve your goals. Simply put, and again, this is one of those principles that I just adopted and tested out for myself, what you wanted you before you wanted it. That's how guaranteed it is in life. Our goals aren't something that, and our dreams aren't something that we come up with. They're something that come through us. So when you stop looking at the situation as, oh, this is just something that I came up with and we'll see what happens, to, well, if I have the inclination to do this, there's a reason why. And if I'm feeling the urge to do it, perhaps it's something that's trying to come out through me instead of something that I've created for myself. And that shifted a lot of things for me. And when I started acting as if everything that I want in life is guaranteed versus let's see what happens, I got completely different results. So your goals and dreams are coming through you. You do not create them. You are created to fulfill them, and life is conspiring to see you succeed. So how do you shift from the way you've been working in the past? You have to start with the mind. When you can get a different relationship with your mind, understand the role of the mind, and use it to work towards your dreams, then you'll find completely different results than when you're just letting your mind make all the decisions. So first, it's important to understand that the mind is not your friend. It's here to ensure that you reach your goals, and your number one priority is to keep you alive. Your mind's number one priority is to keep you alive. So it's not here to make sure that you get everything that you want in life. It's simply here. It's an organ. It's just like your lungs or your heart. It works automatically. I mean, think about the thoughts that go through your head, first of all. Exactly. You know, we have in excess of 60,000 thoughts throughout a given day, but we are only aware of about 3,000 to 4,000 of those thoughts. So understanding that the mind works just like the rest of your organs in your body. It's there by default. It runs on its own. It does not need you to make it work. It's just always going. So understanding that it's not there to make sure that you achieve everything, it really can shift things so that you can understand that what it's going to do is work to keep you alive and keep you safe. So the problem that it faces in working towards a goal is that your goals typically lie outside of your known territory. It's in the unknown, and that's the mind's least favorite place to go. So even if you can consciously think of all the reasons why you want to be in that other area, because your mind hasn't explored that area, that unknown territory poses a threat to the mind. So it will do things, crazy things, if it's like mine, to stop you from moving forward. So an easy example that I could take from my own life is that part of, I am partnered with a nutritional cleansing company. It's through a multi-level marketing company. And one of the things that I was taught, one of the doing steps, was to call people. Very simple concept. Very simple concept. And my mind could rationalize all the reasons why I should do it, but whenever it came to like picking up that phone, it was also my mind saying, well, they're probably busy right now. And maybe you'll be bothering them if you call, and probably you should wait till later. And they're probably having dinner right now. And I could think of all these reasons not to take that step forward, even though at the same time there was another voice inside of me telling me to do it. So is that conflict familiar with anybody? So we're not even talking about true life-threatening situations that we're facing. Calling somebody, either they're going to answer or not answer. Either they're going to want what you are offering or they're not going to want what you're offering. But it's not really a life-threatening situation. But because we're conditioned and we're trained to identify with our mind and consider that to be who we are, and our thoughts are who we are, then we can let that unknowingly take over and make decisions, even if it heads in a different direction than where we really want to go.
It's sort of like we sabotage ourselves?
Absolutely.
But why? Like, what part of the brain does that?
I mean, it's really that animal mechanism. It's that survival. We're talking about the deep, deep layers of the mind working. The automatic default stuff that is so automatic and default that we don't even register it on our radar. It's part of those, 40 to 50,000 thoughts that we have that we don't even think about. And it's very efficient. It's a great, great tool, but we have to learn what its role is and how to, what I call, befriend the mind, so we can have it work with us instead of against us. So, I mean, really, it's going to be driving you towards what makes you feel good and what doesn't make you feel good. We don't like rejection. We don't like to feel like we're bothering people. We take a lot of responsibility for other people's emotional states and beings because it's just kind of our conditioning from society and how we're raised and what everybody else is doing. So since we don't like that feeling of rejection, or we don't like the feeling of failure, our mind will keep us so safe from venturing into those areas that we end up getting exactly that because we don't move forward. So sabotage, self-sabotage, it can come in the form of procrastination. It can come in, it can come in any kind of form, really. It's the thing that says, you know, you got that part of your mind that says, tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up early, and I'm going to work out, and I'm going to have a healthy breakfast, and life is going to be great. And then when that alarm goes off, that same mind says, hit snooze. We'll start it tomorrow. You know, or when that donut shows up first thing in the morning, it's like, well, we can do that tomorrow, or I'll have a salad for lunch instead. So we're constantly renegotiating with ourselves. When we can understand that our mind is just doing everything that it can to keep our environment exactly the same so that we can ensure our own survival. Not our own happiness, but our own survival. The mind would rather you be miserable and alive than happy and possibly risk danger. So understanding that is keeping us safe, which is great, but from a lot of things that aren't really a threat and aren't really attacking us, such as those great goals and dreams that we have set. I mean, being in better health and better wealth and a better relationship, it's really not a threat. But if we can kind of peel back those layers, we can start to see how, well, what if I have that and I'm not enough? Or what if I have that and then I fail? You know, a lot of that's really deep, deep layers under all that conscious mind talking of, I want this and I want to do that. And I believe that I'm the best and I can do anything I put my mind to, but then I don't move forward in the things that I want to do. So understanding this mentality behind things, it allowed me to get into a place that when my mind would speak up and say, you're going to be bothering them, you don't want that, they don't want to hear from you, don't bother them. I can instead say, you know what? I was put here with this dream for a reason. And people are out there wanting what I have to offer, but they won't know that I have it to offer if I don't make the call. So I was able to renegotiate with my mind and be able to take that step forward, or even come up with like simpler steps, which I'm sure these ladies will probably touch on such things, you know, where I, instead of taking on all 100 people that I was going to call today, let me start with the first 10. If I get through 10, then I'll call it, you know, square for the day. And then that 10 will lead to the next 10 and the next 10 and the next 10. But really it took becoming aware of my mind and understanding what it was doing so that I could consciously make the decision to move forward anyway. Is this really a threat? If life is conspiring to see that I succeed, then what's the harm in taking this step forward? And something I didn't even think to put down in the paperwork is just that willingness to face worst case scenario. What is the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no, they're going to hang up the phone on me, they're going to take me off their Facebook friends list, and they're never going to talk to me again. I mean, really think of what is the worst case scenario. A lot of times it's not really that bad. But even if you can get to like the ultimate worst, I'll be outcast from my family, look at that situation and work your way back through it. What would I do from there? So if they don't see that I'm a compassionate person coming from a loving space, authentically wanting to share with them a really great experience that I've had, then maybe they're people that I shouldn't have in my life anyway. Or even if that is something that somebody could think, maybe they know me better than that. And if it's a stranger, really, what have you got to lose? You don't really have anything invested with them. Does that make sense to everybody? So the problem that it faces in working towards a goal is that our goals typically lay outside our normal day-to-day familiar environment. That's why we want them. That's why we want to have that new experience. We want something new, something different, and the problem with different, again, is that it resides outside in the unknown. And the unknown is uncharted territory for the mind, and there's no guarantee it will ensure your survival. So the mind, and mainly what I'm talking about is the subconscious mind. It's not the one that you can hear the little thoughts bouncing back and forth in your head. It's like that deep-rooted stuff. I call it like our core belief system, because that's really what's causing everything around us to show up in our life. It's being driven by that, not what this thing says. So I mean, think about it. This thing tells me that like I'm the greatest thing ever, but then also is the only one that will call me fat and a loser and that I'm stupid and what's wrong with me. You know, you have that dual voices going on inside there. So the subconscious mind is working just as hard as you are to keep you safe and in the familiar, even if you're uncomfortable, unhappy, and your conscious mind tells you you'd rather be somewhere else. So that's the first thing to recognize. The second thing that's important to understand, that the how things are going to come about in our life, how these goals are going to be achieved, and it's one of the mind's favorite distractions keeping you from moving forward. The how is none of our business. That's not for us to figure out. When you can release the how, you just put yourself way ahead of the game. And the how is usually a familiar area. Well, it's very comfortable for me to sit at my desk and think of all the things that I could do to get towards my dream, even though sometimes it can be kind of scary and overwhelming because I think, well, I have to have this kind of education, or I need to know this kind of people, or, you know, we look around at the people around us who have what we want, and we see what they did, and we think we have to do things the same way. Well, they came from this kind of background, or they came from this kind of family, or they have connections with this, or they have experience with that, and I don't have that. So I might as well just go ahead and scrap the whole plan. If you can instead say, I don't know how I'm going to get this, but I have the desire to do it. And if I have the desire, it's proof that life wants to see me succeed. So in letting go of the how, then we can just take the first step. I don't know how to do the things that I want to do, but I do know that if I don't tell other people what it is that I want, nobody knows how they can help me. So just through the process of telling other people what I want, now I've opened up more possibilities versus just sitting at home thinking about what I want and feeling horrible because I can't think of how to achieve it.
So, usually, like if I have a goal in mind, I feel like I have to put a plan in place.
I was just
Which is
thinking the
how,
same
right?
Yes, the mind loves that because we've
But-
done that before.
Yes.
Right?
So, but
You're
if
not
you,
supposed to do the plan.
but if you don't have a plan, how do you know what the first
Yeah.
step is?
Tell people about.
Well,
Is that
Put it out in the
is that the
universe.
first step?
yeah, I mean that could be, again, that's kind of going into the doing
Yeah.
when I'm focusing more on that, not the doing but the being
So
state.
confused.
If you just share, oh, it's okay, that's good. It's good to be because it shows that you're thinking in a new direction. So for me, if there's something that I want to achieve, maybe I don't know how to do it, but maybe I know somebody who's super duper successful or somebody who knows a lot of resources. So that's a place that I can go to first and say, hey, I just had this crazy idea. I would love to do a weekly online television show. My friend Julie does one. Maybe she can help me with how
So
to
maybe
get
it's
started.
instead of having this long drawn out plan, and I know I'm probably jumping
Take
ahead
the
of
first
you
step.
guys, yes, just focus on this one tiny little step that you can take to move you in that direction.
Right.
It's,
What- go ahead.
it's sort of like you don't have to, like we have this idea, but you don't have to recreate yourself completely. There's, all you need to do is surround yourself with the people. You have this idea, you have this great thought, this desire to do something, so if you surround yourself with the people that can help you obtain that.
To me, it
Right.
is way more, that's definitely a direction that you can take it, for sure. And being surrounded by other people, that's why masterminding is so great. If anybody's familiar with the thoughts behind masterminding, you know, where you bring more than one person to a situation to think about these ideas and to collaborate and to bounce ideas back and forth. So even if you have a partner, a significant other, a mother, a friend, a sibling that you can go to and just say, hey, I had this thought. They're gonna have an opinion about it. They're gonna have thoughts and ideas about it. But the problem is that we get bombarded with these thoughts and opinions, and then our mind tells us which one's the right one and which one's not, without ever trying it. So how do you really even know which one is going to lead you to where you want to be and which one's not? We just make up stories. We say, well, this person kind of looks like this person that I knew who didn't do anything for me before, so they probably won't do anything for me either. But this person looks like they got it going on, and they can probably lead me exactly to who I want. And then they don't ever return our calls, and then we're just like, okay, fine, I guess I'm destined to fail. You switch that around to I'm destined to succeed. I don't know how to do it. Just share that with people by just saying, I don't know how I'm going to triple my business this year, but I'm committed to doing it. And if I stay focused on service, I trust that people will come. So do you know anybody who can help me out, or do you have any ideas? And just start that conversation with people. Sometimes we're told, you know, don't share your goals with anybody and don't share what you want to do with people. But if you don't tell people what you want, they don't know how they can help you. And all that we want is to help other people. Really, I mean, what do we like more as human beings than helping somebody else out? The validation that comes with that, the satisfaction that comes with that, we would actually do, which is why more people are successful working for somebody than working for themselves. We'll do more for other people than what we'll do for ourselves. We'll go out of our way lining our best friend up with 10 different connections before we'll even think about hitting those connections up for ourselves. It's crazy. That's how we work. That's how we do things. So once you decide, state and declare what you desire, life, that unseen behind the scene, you can call it the universe, you can call it God, you can call it whatever you want to call it. That stuff that makes everything happen, it gets to work lining up, putting into place, and doing whatever is necessary for you to receive that which you desire. All that you have to do, decide what it is, declare what it is, and get it out there. Don't just leave it floating around in here. Write it down on a piece of paper, say it out loud, even if it's in an empty room, because it will make a difference. Once it comes out of here and out into here, that's like, I don't know, 80–90% of the work. And then life takes care of the rest. We just have to stay open to that happening. Life takes care of the how, so let your mind off the hook figuring that out. And this is the best proof that I can think of. Take a moment to think about anything that you've achieved or accomplished in your life. Did it come about in the way that you thought that it would? Step by step, exactly how you thought it would happen. There are some things that kind of go that way, but really whenever you think about it, it doesn't really pan out that way. Like I knew I don't even know how I knew, but when I was in massage school, I knew I wanted a holistic practice. I knew I wanted to offer more than just massage. But the journey that I took from 6 years ago being in massage school to now having my own practice and doing the holistic work that I do now, totally different. But does it really matter? As long as you get what you want? But if I had held firm, if I believed that I had to have a 4-year degree or a master's degree or some other kind of training before I start coaching people or helping people or offering nutritional cleansing assistance and that sort of thing, I'd still probably be in school and not be serving other people. But instead, I just opened myself up. I didn't even know what I was doing half the time. And over the past 3 years, I've consciously been working towards applying this information and making life changes. And just like how Julie shared, when you start consciously making decisions in your life, everything changes. Everything changes, and there's just no going back. You can stay stuck or on a plateau for a very long time. There's no going back, at least not for me and not for a lot of people that I've seen.
You know, we get groomed. I don't know what age group is in here and if everybody has kids, but we get groomed so much is what we become at this age, and then we just want to forget. Right. It's so unfair.
But we have the power to change it at any time. Yeah, and 30 years of conditioning one way can be not completely undone, but you can make quantum leaps in the other direction by just a few years of consciously making different choices. But we have to just experiment. We're so routine in living life how we live, and this is what everybody's doing. Which is the cool thing too, because if we know that we're doing it and everybody else is doing it, well then we're kind of ahead of the game. Because if I know that I'm scared to pick up the phone and call somebody, chances are they would be too. So maybe if I'm just honest and the first thing out of my mouth is, I was really scared to call you. I know you're my aunt, and I know that you love me dearly, but for some reason I was really afraid that you would judge me by me just asking you if you wanted better health. Isn't that crazy? And then it allows them to be that support for you. Or just clears the space for them to be like, you know what? I really hate it when people call me up and offer me stuff. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different way of being. But a lot of times we're very compassionate people and we can relate to other people. And when somebody's willing to just be the first vulnerable person, other people will open up and respond to that as well.
So what did your brain tell yourself whenever you got shot down?
Oh, it depends on the situation. See? Told you you couldn't do this. Nobody's ever going to be interested in what you're doing. It might work for Susan, but that's because Susan's a super duper all-star and you're not her.
No, I mean about that person. Like, let's say you called your aunt or you called your sister for your business. And like, no, I think what you did is just like silly, so now I'm not interested. Like, were you able to say inwardly, oh, it's nothing about me, that's their issue, just cross it off and go on?
For me, it was when I really started to own this information versus what my mind used to do to me before. When I really started to own this, then I'm totally detached. I'm detached from what the other people say. Because what comes out of other people, it's all about them, where they're at, their situation, their stories, what have you. And if life's conspiring for me to succeed, and I'm just doing the hows and the things that I can think to do, then that's just showing me it's not this direction. So the quicker I can clear out what direction it's not, the sooner I'll find what direction it is. So I'm really detached from things happening. I get offered opportunities now that, you know, in the past I would have been like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, it's going to completely change my life. And now I look at it and I'm like, wow, just the fact that that's a possibility of happening in my life, I think that's awesome. If it happens, if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with it. The fact that it showed up shows me that it's a possibility. If it's meant to be, it's going to happen. If it's not meant to be, it's not going to happen no matter what I do. So I just stay very, very detached, which is a reconditioning that I had to do for myself. Because I would think like, oh, this is the one thing. If I can just do this one thing, my whole life will be different. And then either I did or didn't do that thing, but say I did do it, and life was pretty much the same. And then I just wanted the next thing. That thing would be the thing to change my life. And my life never really changed until I changed on the inside, and I changed the way that I approach things, and I changed the way that I view life and view other people, and now I have a totally different approach. This is completely radical, but I've never felt like more knowing of being on the right track and who I am and what it's about. Doesn't mean that I get everything right, all the time. It just means that whatever I do, I trust it's the thing leading me to the next thing, or else I wouldn't be there. And again, that's just something I had to experiment with. And once I started experimenting with it, then life started giving me the feedback. Then I could look at the feedback and decide from those results which way I wanted to operate. This way, it might not be that much different than what I was doing before, but I feel a lot better about it. Now I can kind of take myself out of the equation and serve a higher purpose. Now that kind of gets me jazzed to make those phone calls. If I think to myself, people out there are asking, and if they came up on my list, maybe I have the answer. That was totally different than, I need to sign up 15 people. So let me call these, 75 and see if they're the one. No, I was doing in order to get, versus just trusting that I had this higher thing that was living through me and being detached from what it looked like in the end. Because again, it's not so we get what we want at the end, does it really matter? The journey. And I can think back to things that I held on to so tightly that I had to make happen, because once the idea presented itself, I just had to have it. And I can see now how I made that journey to getting it so much more difficult than if I had just trusted it would all come together and just stayed out of it. Instead, I was running around town and checking prices on stuff and trying to finagle deals and trying to work things out, and so scared and operating from this place of fear of not having and not getting what I thought that I wanted at the time, that I ended up creating all these obstacles and challenges that may or may not have come up. But more importantly, if I had just taken that, hey, this challenge showed up, but I'm guaranteed to get through it, I could have gone through all that stuff without that anxiety and fear and anxiousness, which I do a whole lot of work with people on emotional addictions, which I believe that's what happens, is that we get addicted to this chemical release that happens in our bodies whenever fear and anxiety is present. So we can end up being a slave to creating that kind of drama in our lives instead of the ease. And once you start to let the ease in, it's far more addicting than the drama.
What's that chemical?
Far more addicting.
I don't know, is that a neurotransmitter?
Yeah, it could be cortisol. Yeah.
I had a question for you on that, because I'm a registered nurse, so I understand the anatomy and physiology of that, and I guess what goes through my mind is if someone experiences a traumatic event, and it's like their body is so startled by that, it's kind of that fight or flight really kicks in, and suddenly it's like, I don't trust that my body is together enough to get me through. It's like a fear of something else. It's more than the emotions, but it's trusting in the process, but trusting that you can physically withstand something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I understand.
Like people that go through like auto accidents, and then suddenly they're faced with, I can't do what I used to do because I have to go through the auto accident, and they have this anxiety and fear because maybe they had to take time off work, or
which is totally the work of the mind, because of the experience that we had.
So it's like they may have been working towards their goal, and then they have this traumatic event happen. Suddenly the anxiety kind of takes over.
And they're scared to go back to doing it because what they were doing led to that accident, and they don't want to recreate that.
Exactly.
Right.
So
right. And that's looking at that primal animal part of ourselves, because we are animals. We're highly evolved, but we are animals, and we have animal instincts, and really that's what separates us from like the dogs and the squirrels. They just gotta act. When they see something, they gotta go. But we can actually stop and think about it. We don't have to automatically get into a fight with somebody whenever they step into our territory. We have the ability to rationalize and do things different. And when we have a traumatic event happens, like, if you get rear-ended sitting at a stoplight and it causes a lot of physical and emotional and stress and all kinds of damage into your life, then every time you sit at that red light, you're just constantly looking at that rearview mirror because you want to do whatever you can to avoid that situation from happening again. Totally the mind taking the control of the situation.
but it's still the same process.
Yeah, it's very similar to the same process. Yeah. So, to get through the rest of what I have on the sheet here, when we focus on the how, we're focused on not having. Because all those how steps are proof that we don't have it yet, which is why we have to do them. and you're not focusing on the fact that you're having it, you're focusing on what you have to do in order to get it. So when you focus on the how, you're focused on not having. When you focus on not having, we create or attract, depending on what school of thought you follow, conditions of not having. When we move forward in faith, knowing that what we want is guaranteed, we bring the energy of having and being fulfilled, therefore creating or attracting conditions of already having. So if you move forward as if what you have is coming to you, it puts out a totally different focus and energy than when you focus on what do I have to do to get it because I don't have it yet. Take your focus off of you and start focusing on the people placed in your path once you declare your desire. Everything we get in life, we get through other people. If you haven't noticed that yet, start to notice it. Everything you have in life came from somebody else, period. Everything you want is going to come through other people. Again, if people don't know what you want, they're not going to know how to help you. And if life is conspiring to see you succeed, then trust the perfect people, places, and events are going to cross your path, literally. But when you think that you know what it's going to look like, you're going to be so focused on looking for that thing, you're going to overlook all the other possibilities that are out there. So here are 2 games I'll send you guys off with. Here are 2 games to help keep the mind out of it and keep you moving forward and open to receiving what life is sending. One is called the contribution game. This came straight from my favorite mentor. The contribution game. Decide and declare what you want and then let it go. It's now on its way, so keep doing what you're doing. Life is giving you what you are giving out, so focus your attention on others. Connect deeply with others, step over no one. The contribution game is living your life, and in the process, helping as many people get whatever they want that cross your path. So in the natural act of giving, you're going to start receiving. Maybe some of those people will automatically be like, that was so awesome that you helped me out, what can I do for you? And maybe some people will be like, that was so awesome that you helped me out. And that's it. But other people will pay attention. They're just not the ones. You're looking for the ones. But really, when you can take your focus off of you, you know what I want's coming to me. What can I do for you? How can I help you out? Who do you need to get connected with? What are you dreaming about? What do you want to do? Maybe I don't know the how either, but I can at least hold the vision for you. If I hold the vision and have the belief or the accountability or whatever it is that I can contribute to other people, when you focus not on what's in it for me, but what can I give to other people, everything will shift.
That's removing all expectation.
Yes.
You have to remove it completely.
It's so freeing.
That's
However,
not easy for people to do.
it is a simple thing to do, however, we've been so conditioned to the other way of being.
Right.
But I'm telling you, once you start to practice it and you start to get the results, at least for me, it was like, I'm not ever doing it that way again. I mean, I still do because I'm so conditioned. I lived 30 years doing it one way, 3 years doing it another way. But it just gets better and better. The other game is the perfect game. You don't get what you want because you're no where you should be a yes. Whatever's offered, take it. Whatever's offered, take it. Whatever is suggested, try it. No matter what happens, declare it all perfect. Someone says, oh, you know what you should do? You should contact so-and-so and then figure out this and that and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, nah. What if you didn't? You don't know until you try it. So whatever's offered, take it. Here's tickets to the opera tonight. I don't like the opera, no thank you. You don't know that God, life, whoever orchestrated for you to be sitting next to the perfect person who can help you get what you want. You have to start doing things different. We've talked a couple of times tonight about being conditioned. You're in the habit of saying no to the things that you say no to and yes to the things you say yes to. Start saying yes to the things that you normally say no to and see what new opportunities show up in your life. Just do it. I mean, just do it. Chances are you're going to survive at the end of it. You'll have a whole new experience that you don't know where it's going to lead to. And no matter what happens, just declare it perfect. If all of a sudden you're like, that was a total waste of my time, trust that it happened for a reason. Because maybe 3 weeks later, that guy ends up calling you and makes you an offer that you can't believe. We don't know.
Even when you think you screwed up, just trust
Totally.
that was all perfect.
Yeah, because if you screwed up, there's lessons in that too. Definitely. The only thing left for you to do during this process is ride the waves. Become what I call a mental surfer. Life ebbs and flows, full of highs and lows. When you're riding a wave, it can be amazing, inspiring, and empowering experience that you may never want to end. When you're sitting and waiting for the next wave to come, it can feel uncomfortable, wrong, and like the wave's never going to come. But if you think about a surfer, they don't like start paddling out into the ocean looking for the waves. they're sitting there hanging on their surfboards, enjoying the beautiful scenery, waiting for that next wave to come. Because just as much as that wave's fun to ride, it's going to end. And as sure as it's going to end, another one's going to come. So I say, be patient, give it time, know that the next one's coming. I used to make those downtimes really wrong and never want to let go of the really high fun times. When I started embracing the downtimes, like, oh, this is just one of those ebbs, and it's going to pass and the next wave's going to come, I was able to recuperate a lot quicker and get back on track faster. So the last part, oh, it's not even the last part, you guys are up here behind me. What we resist persists, what we embrace transforms. When life is giving you a trough, release the urge to make it wrong. Embrace and accept that this is energetically a time for you to rest and restore your energy so that you can be ready for the next wave. Acceptance will allow this period to pass guilt-free and signifies to life that you're ready again to receive the next wave. So stay detached, enjoy the ride. You do not want things, you want experiences. It's not that car that you want, it's the experience of what owning that kind of car will be like, how it will make you feel. So when you can let go of what it looks like and focus on the experience, then you can really make right now the same experience as having that thing that you want.